Scores still missing, unaccounted for. One woman, I read her story, is lucky to be alive. She was clinging to a tree for hours over the weekend, trapped by the floodwaters. 24 hours, 20 hours on that tree going downriver. She was swept 20 miles downriver. Caught the Jeter family's attention when she saw Carl Jeter, and she began to scream for help. He was standing on the balcony or something outside of his house. When he finally heard her, he kept looking around, saw her in the tree in the river.
Yeah.
So he started getting help. They came running. Swiftwater rescue teams from everywhere, state police and the Jeter family, helping them launch their rescue boats, directing them to the woman clinging to the tree. Once she was rescued, the family took her into their home, covered her with a blanket, got her warm. They said she was in shock and needed a lot of comfort. That is one lucky lady. And now the death toll still climbing. No telling how many, when it's all over, they will find. How many they will never find, who knows. The search continues for more victims. There are 27 young girls. I'm not sure what the status is of all of them. Some of those have been found dead.
Yes.
They were missing in Kerr County. I don't know how they pronounce it there. Staying at Camp Mystic, an all-girls private Christian retreat in Hunt, Texas. 5 of those were found dead, confirmed killed. Some 800 people or so have been rescued so far.
Tragic.
Scores more missing. And then, of course, out of this, the politics.
Don't get me started.
Okay, well, he's not going to get you started, but I'm going to say this.
You go right ahead.
If I may. Lee posted something very nice
She did.
yesterday, and some people got on there and made it political.
Mm-hmm. You called for prayers for the victims and those missing.
Well, let me tell you how it all started. It was nothing to do with social media per se, Facebook. I had been watching throughout the weekend and yesterday live feeds from Kerrsville, Texas, and surrounding areas where the floods had just devastated the community. And I listened to the pressers by the local town people, the local officials, and then by the state governor and et cetera. I listened to all that. And there were so many comments, because if you've got it on a screen and over to your right, like we have on our YouTube, there is a comment section. And the amount of people that were all trying to make this all political and blame it on the current administration and saying, that death is on their hands. I mean, it was ridiculous. And so it just bothered me. So I said, how about instead of being so vocal in such a negative way, let's use prayer. Let's pray for the people that lost their lives. The children, 8-year-olds, 9-year-olds, went to camp and they're never coming home again. And of course, it turned political on my posts. It got very crazy.
And there were some very offensive ones, I think, because they were blaming NOAA, the National Weather Service, but they gave warnings. This was something that even those that had the warnings, 30 feet, Rayford, you're familiar. When I was at the church yesterday and we were in our hall serving donuts, and I asked them, I said, how tall is this building we're in? They said 30 feet.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't even, I looked outside and tried to imagine where all these cars are parked out for church services. Inside we're serving donuts, 30 feet of water. Okay, what kind of warning you're going to get? What are you going to do? What are you going to do?
I wasn't alive for all of the storms that we've had over the past century even. 1954 I was. We had a thing called Hurricane Hazel. We lived over on DeWitt Street, on the other side of what used to be Elizabeth Lake at the time.
Yeah.
there were two entrances to that whole community. There were not many homes in there at the time. One was at one end of the lake, one at the other end of the lake. Well, guess what occurred? All that rain, they both washed out. Those two ways to get in and out of that community were gone. The bridges were washed out. Had a Democratic governor at the time. His name was Luther Hodges. He'd been warned about those bridges before. The city knew about it. That was city street. It wasn't a state street. They knew about it. They didn't do anything in advance. They didn't care. No, that's what a lot of people will sit back and say now. Hurricane Hazel was a huge storm. It should not have come into Jacksonville like it did. It came into the southern end of New Hanover County, came ashore. On a full moon, high tide is when it made landfall. Talk about Carolina Beach. The boardwalk was totally destroyed. People down in the Brunswick beaches, they lost. Good God, people were killed. Lots of people died. That storm came on up into Onslow County, here, into Jacksonville. I was there. I remember the trees falling in our backyard there in the middle of the night. The ground was saturated. We couldn't get out. It was a mess. Okay, let's move forward. We had, who was it, Donna and several other storms in the early 60s.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of devastation. How much warning did we get? We got warning. What did we do about it? Nothing.
I think the National Weather Service, NOAA, those involved, any of us, you and I track
Storms.
the storms.
Yes.
Lee, you track them. You know, and we do the best we can. We're not licensed meteorologists.
Nope.
But Southern Pines got 8 inches of rain. They weren't expecting 8 inches of rain. Weather Service
Well, should they have been expecting 8 inches of rain?
who? Southern Pines?
Yeah.
The way that kept changing?
Who knows?
Well, I will
But
say
it's-
that the National Weather Service did put out statements showing the storm going up central North Carolina, showing they were most prone to possible flooding.
Yes.
And they did show on the graphs, the rain graphs, up to 8 inches, 5 to 8 inches for certain areas. I know Alamance County got hit. Orange County, I sat there and watched them do live water rescues for Orange County last night. So there was quite a bit of flooding in those areas. But remember when, was it Florence that came and the flooding that happened in Princeton? Pineville, and there
Pineville
was
and Princeton.
yes, and the Kinston area, the Greenville area. Remember how bad the flooding was? No one expected that, but you can't you can't say it's not going to happen.
But bottom line to me is this, and I've had people question me on Facebook and sometimes on this show, what do you take from your Catholic standpoint of it? And I try not to do it. When the good Lord calls you home, he doesn't do it by politics.
Nope.
It's simple as that.
That's very, very true.
Now let's just talk about NOAA though and the National Weather Service. The guys do everything they can, and it's not a people problem. All right, they got
Right.
they got a lot of people there, but the problem is some of that antique equipment that they've got is antique equipment, and it's not anything new. It's been getting antique since the day it was bought. The day you buy something new, there's new technology before you can turn around. That's the reason that every year, all of those TV sets that we bought over the decades, is electronics thing first of the year. That's when the folks amongst you, the geeks among you, go out and buy new stuff because yours is a year old. And they got a new little thing on it now. It can do this. Mine couldn't do that, but this can do that. They're going to have smell-o-vision next. You'll be able to smell the rainfall that's coming on your TV set. It's the way things go. Now, can you replace that kind of stuff, the weather gear? No. You got to have people to be able to use it. Obviously, you got to have people to be able to program it. The National Data Buoy System, I'm fairly familiar with. That's a NOAA operation. Okay, they've got data buoys. If you ever want to check the charts, it's easy to find them. They got them all over, out to 25, 30, 40, 50 miles offshore, strategically placed. But as they put it out there, If they don't have any way to go out to maintain, to replace it, or whatever, that's a budgetary problem. Somebody done something wrong. And whether it was at their level, not likely. I'm sure that they will request all the money, but I'm also sure it gets turned out. Well, it's been working. Why do you need it? The data buoys are extremely vital.
Mhm.
That brought us into the 19th century, basically. Got us up to the 19th century when they got those things operating. Now we've moved way beyond that, and they're not operating, many of them. Or it's those that are operating part of the time or half operating. They are vitally important in detecting things and understanding what is likely to be coming our way. What happens in the ocean affects everybody. That's a climate situation. Those are patterns that are happening. And weather guys who can read those instruments, they're great if the instruments are working. But right now, the National Hurricane Center counts on flying an airplane out there into the middle of that thing to find out if it's going to be any good. An Air Force Reserve reconnaissance plane. Really? Yeah. I don't want to ride in it.
I do.
I've been offered it. Oh, no. I'm not going. It hasn't crashed in one yet, but
No.
I'm thinking I could be that one.
Well, we talked about that one time. I know you're going to get the bumpy ride going through there,
Yeah.
but to get to that center. And
Yeah, but
to see
sooner or
the-
later that gas is going to run out in the center. You know what I mean? What you going to do then? You got to get back out through it. You think it was rough going in it? Coming out of it's not going to be any better.
Well,
I'm
this
not going, but-
whole thing with the flooding started, this is remnants of Hurricane Barry. And that traveled across, mixed with some low pressure systems, and then it just sat there over that area. At 1:13:14, the National Weather Service put out an emergency broadcast, for flash flooding. 45 minutes later, 26 inches of rain fell.
Yeah.
Now, if you have 26 inches of rain fall in 45 minutes, there's going to be flooding. The problem was, one of the issues was it was in the early wee hours of the morning. People are normally asleep. A lot of people probably did not have no radios or
Most of
any
them did
other
not.
way, to get the alerts. All the elements were there for disaster. You have a big camp for young kids. It's down low. They've always had issues with flooding there in the past, minor flooding, etc. And everything just set up. NOAA, National Weather Service, none of us can control what the weather's going to do.
No.
It's not like we can shoot a missile up into the clouds
We haven't
to make
tried
a
that.
storm dissipate, but the National Weather Service said that their cuts with their staff did not affect their capabilities of doing the weather and putting out the emergency broadcast for this storm.
Okay, now here's the other thing. How local responders, how local officials react to
Exactly.
those warnings is vitally important. When there's a flood warning, you know what? I look at it, I get it on these cute little radios. Flood warning in Jacksonville, flood warning in Onslow County, flood warning here, I said, okay, another, that street over there off of Western Boulevard, it's going to be hard to drive on. Okay, I'm not going to drive on that. But as far as, we do not take those warnings seriously. Oh, it's only a flood warning. Or it's a possible flood watch. We got to look out because a lot of rain is going to fall. Hurricane Dinah, 1984. Sat off the coast of Southport, that area.
Mm-hmm.
It was doing little circles out there for 3 days. When it's out there for 3 days, it's picking up a lot of water and dropping a lot of water. Wilmington, southeastern North Carolina, flooded because that storm just would flat not go away. There's a thing called, what was that girl's name? Florence?
Oh, yeah.
31 inches of rain in
Remember
parts of Onslow
Florence?
County.
I was-
31 inches.
I was stuck in Greenville for 3 days.
The normal hurricanes will traditionally drop somewhere around 10 to 14 inches. A good rain event. 10 to 14 inches.
Was it Florence or Floyd? It was
Floyd.
Floyd.
Yeah, I was
Florence.
stuck in Greenville for.
Floyd.
Yeah, it was Floyd
Floyd
when I was stuck.
was a rainmaker.
Hey, right,
and
you're
they-
gonna go
and-
right here.
and they did rain up and lots of water inland around this neck of the woods. All those rivers come our way. And even if the storm is inland, dropping rain after raindrop after raindrop, and then when it all comes down, it fills up those rivers. Those rivers cannot hold but so much. Our ocean out here, we are lucky here along the coast, believe it or not, during a hurricane, because it gets all the water. It gets all the water that's out there. You don't have to worry too much about it. It just accumulates and fills up the ocean. No, it won't fill up the ocean. It's too much water. It's got plenty of room there. But once those rivers get full, they overflow, and all of that mess comes down. In the one you're talking about, I believe it was Floyd.
Yes, Floyd.
The hog farms in Duplin County were inundated. They were overflowing. The lagoons, they were breached. All those waters, hog lagoon waste. You know what that is, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Well, not only was the waste coming down river and floating by Wilmington, so were some of the dead pigs that were there, floating along the Wilmington waterfront, heading out to sea.
Yeah, I went to, because my daughter was attending ECU at that time. And so I went up to stay with her because, it didn't appear that it was going to be much of anything. And it turned out to be a flooding event.
Now, does the equipment need to be revamped, updated? Absolutely.
Oh, sure.
That
Yes.
federal stuff has to be done.
Yes.
And we have to have people know how to use it. I think the people are there.
They are, and before we get to our special guest, let me just let people know this.
Mhm.
The proposed cuts by the administration for NOAA, for National Weather Service, have not taken place.
Duh.
Hello. They have not happened, so don't blame it on
Well, you've had
politics.
some people leave. They took a retirement package and early out. We did it all the time at the
You have
post
people
office.
coming and
all the
going
time.
all the time, year
Yeah.
round,
They're federal
365 days
agencies.
a year. That's the way it is.
Get all worked
In the
up.
borough this morning, just a few minutes ago, it was 78 degrees. They had overnight, they had 0.09 inches of rain. And it was windy as all get out at Emerald Isle about 30 minutes ago. 75 degrees in Jacksonville on Riverbend Road. That's courtesy of our weather spotters here on Live and Local, members of the Onslow Amateur Radio Club. And here in Jacksonville at the studio, 73 degrees. And we had 0.67 inches of rain overnight. Okay.
Timmy.
We got some weather to deal with here before we get to our guest. Marine forecast, not too good for today. Gusty winds and building swells from Chantel, stirring things up a bit out to 20 nautical miles. Winds out of the southwest, 15 to 20 knots, seas 4 to 6 feet, sounds and rivers choppy. Tomorrow, southwesterly winds 10 to 15, seas 3 to 4, 7 seconds apart, sounds and rivers a moderate chop. Wednesday, southwesterly winds 10 to 15, seas 3 to 4, sounds and rivers a moderate chop. The ocean's going to remain somewhat sloppy for the week. And also the chances of rip currents are still there.
Beach advisories.
And there's going to be some junk in the water that came down from upriver, from trees to stumps to boards with nails in them. So
Now's a good time to go
ever so
look for
careful.
shark teeth. But stay out of the water.
yeah, don't go in the water.
You might get the wrong kind of shark teeth in the water. Today, a chance of showers and thunderstorms. Mostly sunny with a high near 94. Heat index values as high as 105. Tonight, mostly clear with a low around 75. Tuesday, a slight chance of showers and thunderstorms, mostly sunny with a high near 91. And Wednesday, an increased chance of showers and thunderstorms, partly sunny with a high near 90. Fix that.
Met our guest here about a year ago this time, I believe it was. He decided that he was going to throw his hat into a political ring of fire. And he did that. Wyatt Gable, known his family for quite a while. But anyway, Wyatt joins us now. We shall call him Representative Wyatt Gable from Onslow County. Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing good. Good morning. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
I appreciate
Great to
it too.
see you. Yes.
Okay, last year you were in school at East Carolina.
Mhm.
What kind of grief did you get once you were elected, once you got back to school?
Most college students don't really know what the state legislature is, so
That is so true.
probably not much. You got the odd look every now and then from somebody. They'd seen you on the news or some social media post about you. So you got that a lot, but
Did you have a license plate that says house on it?
I do. Yes, I have the special.
Go,
special
Alex,
plate.
go.
Was that
So-
up there?
Take advantage.
You drove your car and it was parked in the area, so did people see you get in and out of your car?
Yeah, luckily, the apartment I have up in Greenville, which actually we finished the lease on this month, that we had a parking deck, so that one wasn't too much. But if we'd ever drive around campus, it definitely happened a lot. So,
Any of your were you by any chance taking political science last year?
not last year. That's
It's a good thing.
yeah. So that was my minor, and I finished that one junior year. So
Okay.
when I was during the primary, I was actually taking campaigns and elections. So
really?
My professor wanted me to talk about the class more than himself. So it's kind of funny.
One has to ask: do you get to stand on the sideline of the football games and the basketball games? And
I have been on the field for the entrance for football, and then but yeah, we get to sit in the chancellor's box and all that stuff for ECU games. So it's
Well,
fun.
that's pretty cool.
Nice.
There are some
Nice.
perks, huh?
It definitely isn't the salary. So
I agree with you there, and I've always been an advocate for increasing the salary of our reps. I just think it's important. I mean, you say what you want to say and give me those side glances.
Let's take a look and see what we could cut first. I can find some stuff.
Well, think
You
about
have a
it.
budget.
That Rayford, they make nothing.
I know that.
They make nothing for all the hours that they spend
I
there.
understand that.
That's like going and telling our sheriff, you're 24/7, but we're cutting your salary in half. I mean, these guys and ladies make less than that. Oh, sorry, I'll probably get a lot of hate mail. Probably get some Facebook posts.
Do you think increasing the salary would get more people to sign up to run for this office?
maybe. I mean, obviously, I don't do it for the money, and I know pretty much anyone else up there doesn't do it for the money. But
Sure of that.
yeah, I know there was a lady around here. She was running not against me, but she was running in the Democrat primary. I assume they didn't have a primary, but she was running in.
Yeah.
She was saying something about like they don't get paid enough up there, and that was a big reason. That she was kind of saying that it kind of just cuts off a group of people because most of the people that can go up there are either just uberly wealthy or they're retired or whatnot. So it kind of makes it hard for working people to do so, which kind of makes sense. But again, at the same time, I've found a way to do it, and I'm fresh out of college, and I can still do it. So,
Well, the one thing too is I'm not sure that I would like to offer the people that we would get who would run just for the money. If that's what we've got them there for, I would be concerned about it.
Right.
That's not why we have elected representatives.
Correct.
So, okay, what have you learned in the past period? What's January you took over?
yeah. So January.
So we've got 6 months under our belts.
Yeah, just about. It's been pretty busy because the only time we've had off since swearing in was 2 weeks in January, and then a week in April and a week in May. So every other week we've been there a full week for sessions. So it's been very interesting. You learn a lot. I don't care how old anybody is that goes there. There's a learning curve for everybody, and then it kind of you got to get used to how everything works because you you do your local community stuff and it goes one way, and then you go up there and the dynamic of everything is so different. So I just think how the actual wheels of government turn has kind of been an interesting process, and because people have the same party affiliation or they're from the same area, people think very differently. So trying to overcome that's probably been the biggest thing.
Well, I did some research on you. I didn't know you were going to be here today, but then I didn't know I was going to be here today either. But I had
I was going to be here.
Yes. Talent seekers.
Okay. No, well, I just
I'm just picking
my
on
schedule,
things.
but I had done something. I saw a lot of bills that you've created or what's it?
Yeah, introduced, sponsored.
and they got passed and stuff. Question: you're probably one of the youngest ones.
The youngest, yeah.
Okay, the
Yes.
youngest. Do the older ones seem to try to take advantage of influencing you or swaying you or taking advantage of your age?
Not more than they do with each other, I think. I mean, it's because, the thing everyone has to remember is my vote counts just as much as theirs does. So if I don't like something, then, my no is going to count just as much as every other person in the house. So it doesn't really happen too much. And to be honest, we haven't had really too many, just out there kind of controversial bills. I mean, recently, we had the shrimp issue. That was one that kind of got everybody. But for the most part, aside from the party line issues, we haven't had too many that are really out there. And if we have, we're still in the works on those. So, I haven't really noticed it too much. So,
Good for you.
Well, let me ask you one. This is going back to February, and this is one that you sponsored. And I know all of us are in agreement on it. And that was to reduce the early voting period, because that's what, you were out there every single day during early voting.
right.
So what happened with that?
That one just didn't really go anywhere. I know a lot of people agree with it on both sides of the aisle, but I think a big thing that kind of held us up was I can't remember which state it was, but they had the same kind of legislation introduced, and I guess they had a lawsuit filed against them, and of course, because they had that, they ended up getting those people that were suing won the case, and they ended up extending the early voting period. So we didn't want to have the same issue, but for my reasons why I did it, the State Board of Elections, they complained that they didn't have enough money. Well, if you don't want to sit there and pay all these people working 12 hours a day for 2 weeks straight, then that might help. And then, the voter fatigue almost of people, and, you can know, well, I've got a week to vote in election day versus I've got a month to vote. Your urgency to go vote is going to be higher. And then, like you said, from campaigning standpoint, I was out there standing in the rain for hours and doing all this.
Very last day of early voting, I went up there to vote finally, and he's standing there out in the rain. I was like, let me give you an umbrella. I have an extra one in the truck. No, I'll be fine. He stood out there in the pouring rain in the middle of the sidewalk, no other candidates but Wyatt. He stood out there and talked to people as they came up. I'll never forget one gentleman, I think he was from the Richlands area, and he said, I don't believe he was in your district, but he was so impressed with this young man doing what he was doing. He said, if I could vote for you, I will. I would.
Yeah.
I would. He said, you just being out here and shaking my hand, and that's what it takes. But Wyatt was out there every single day.
Yeah, there was a guy in New Hanover when New Hanover had split New Hanover and Pender for Senate. I'm not sure if it's still the same way or not, Senate seat. And he was like the long shot. He should never have been elected, but he did door to door. He stood out at the busiest intersection in Wilmington, New Hanover County, College and Oleander, if you know where that is.
Oh, yeah.
He and his family stood out there, and they handed out flyers to anybody that, when the light turns, they were out there, had a permit to be there. And if somebody said, roll the window down, say, yeah, I'd like some more information, they'd give it to him. But they had the little sign. He was elected overwhelmingly. He didn't do that much major advertising. He did the traditional amount, but he stood out there and he needed people. He did it the way it was done in the past.
Right. And I think we've kind of lost that from campaigning.
Yeah.
People just throw insane amounts of money out of TV and all that stuff, and they don't really, comprehend that people don't really pay attention too much to ads anymore. If they do, when it's election time and 95% of your ads are political ads, people kind of get tired of them.
If you don't have something to say in that ad, you just vote for me is not going to cut you
right
anymore.
Right.
How well received were you when you were doing your campaigning, which was door to door? People obviously don't like certain door to door people going, but were you well received for the most part?
Yeah. Obviously, like you said, there's some people that no matter what you do, they just don't want to be bothered.
Right.
But it happens. But for the most part, people were definitely receptive of it because, like I said, they don't door knock anymore. They don't try that way. And I'd knock on people's doors and they'd say, well, you're the first person to knock on my door in 15 years or something or ever. And no one's actually asked for my vote person to person. So it's typically just trying to email me or something. But,
Cool.
So
That's cool.
Grassroots.
Appreciate that too.
Yeah.
You can carry some donuts like Chris does. And he brings me donuts. So
Yes.
Well, there we go. We'll try that next time.
he makes them himself too.
Oh, does he?
Scratch, yeah.
Okay.
So you need to try that.
We good?
Very good.
What, obviously the shrimp bill was probably one of the more controversial items this session.
For sure.
You still catching grief over it?
Yeah, I've been getting emails. I checked yesterday, just trying to catch up on stuff, and I'm still getting emails. Like, people were emailing me on the 4th of July about the shrimp bill, and which I hate because, that's not what the original bill was, but people got to go and change it instead of writing up their own bills. So that was.
What did the original bill call for?
The original bill just required there to be a 2-week snapper and flounder season where you could catch fish. So
That got to do with shrimp.
it's a great question. I don't have an answer to, but I'm not the one to change it. So it's everybody pretty much agreed on the first part because we didn't have a flounder season last year.
No, we didn't.
Obviously it's a big deal around here for people.
Yes,
who are
it
trying
is.
to make sure people had something to do, and they had to go and ruin it on the other side of the chamber. So
That's one of the things that I've personally campaigned for vocally, not campaigned for, but vocally. No bill that is written and introduced should be able to be modified that changes or adds to whatever is in there in that bill. Do you want to put shrimping in it? Well, add shrimping to another bill. Put another bill out there. Vote for it. You can vote for it at the same time. But it has to be a separate bill.
right, yeah, and then
That and
unfortunately,
line item vetoes, two things that I really wish would happen.
it happens a lot. Unfortunately, we send a lot of good bills over to the Senate, and then they just, for whatever reason, they get other stuff added in there. But it is what it is. So we have conference, and then if we don't like it, then we just won't hear the bill when it comes back over. So
It's going to be disappointing to put in that much work into it.
Forget his first name. It's one of our regular callers.
Right.
Buddy.
We've got a caller, and I can't see the caller ID. Who's this? Hello?
Yellow.
Yellow. Yellow once,
Twice.
twice.
Caller, call back.
Caller is still connected. Goodbye.
Davis is the last name. Another bill that Wyatt introduced, Rayford, that I know you're in here all the time on the show, was the abuse and deceit marketers. Please tell us why you found an end to this.
that would be Representative Brody's bill, which he asked me to be a primary sponsor on. So I definitely took him up on that one. But it pretty much does what it says. It just bans people from being able to spoof and use your number to call and scam and do all that. So you're not potentially getting blamed for it. Obviously, people know that happens, but definitely helps make it a crime. So it's less likely to happen in the state. And
Flogging should be the penalty.
Right. So where's that stand? In committee, I suppose?
it passed the House, and then it's in the Senate. And
In a committee.
Yeah, once it gets over there, I don't know what it does.
In a committee. Mike?
Yeah, that's outside my realm now. So.
Right. Yeah, I thought that was very interesting. I appreciate that, because if we could do something with it, telemarketers are just unreal.
Well, the spoofing that Wyatt
Yes.
was just talking about, they are so good at it. The number will come up and it will read it, just for an example,
Right.
your banking institution,
Mm-hmm.
and they'll say they're from their fraud department, and it looks as legitimate as it can possibly
Well,
be.
I told you the time I was getting calls from a number, and it was Onzo Memorial's number, and it even said Onzo Memorial Hospital on it, and it was one of those, trying to sell you some kind of medical cream, and we went into a long conversation. I knew she wasn't who she said she was, but yeah, that would be great. He'll get them while we're on the show.
Oh,
And
yeah.
he'll actually play them.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, and we have a lot of fun with those.
So Wyatt, once it goes through the House and then you send it to the Senate, are you just pretty much in a waiting game there, or do you ask for updates?
Ooh.
As silly as that may sound.
No, definitely not a silly question or anything. It really depends on the bill itself, and then honestly who runs the bill. And it definitely, when Senate bills come over to us, sometimes they wait. It's just the nature of how it goes. But I mean, typically the way it goes, we try and make our bills for crossover, which is typically it'd be like into April, I think, is when we try and do it and get everything done by then, or in May. And then once you kind of get all your bills through, then they kind of wait, because then they kind of got to be distributed to the committees on the other chamber that are appropriate, and then work over theirs and kind of do that stuff. So it really depends. Some bills move fast, like the Helene relief funding. Those were
Yes.
done within a week.
Great.
So every time we did it, and then other bills, some they still sitting there after however long. So it really just depends.
We don't know right now, obviously, and you may not know how far advanced in your political career you want to go. Lee and I kid around.
He's going all the way to the U.S.
Yeah, but
we're going to push him.
These representatives are speaking, and nobody's in the chairs.
Right.
Yeah.
We were talking about that, like the vote-a-rama.
Yeah.
The past weekend when they were, voting on the big, beautiful bill, and about how, they get like 8 hours to speak each side. And you've got one side that's speaking, but nobody else is in the room. We're just like,
How's it work in Raleigh?
I mean, it's somewhat similar, just, because we have such a big majority in the House and the Senate. I mean, it's pretty much, anything that gets through, it's pretty much all Republican stuff, or it's just really common sense Democrat stuff, that everybody agrees on. And it, by then, if it's gotten to the House, it's been vetted by the committee chair if they even want to hear the bill. It's gone through the committees, and then if it makes it to the floor, then everybody kind of knows how they're going to vote. Right. So we definitely do that, because you'll get some bills and you'll see the queue light up and there's 8 people there, and it's going to take an hour and a half to get through them. It's like, I know how I'm voting. I've done my research. Whatever they say is really not going to change my mind. So I can either sit there and listen to someone complain for an hour, or I could get on the phone and get more work done. So it kind of depends. But
could have been in DC and done it for 8 hours 34 minutes.
Yeah, that's no, thank you. So,
well, they get more money.
Yeah,
not worth it, is it?
No.
Okay, we did have a caller earlier, and we did have apparently a telephone equipment malfunction. That equipment malfunction has now been repaired.
Yay!
I hit it with a hammer.
All right. It's probably all those lightning storms we had this week.
All else fails, pop it one time. It always works after
go.
that. It's an old electronics technician trick. And actually, it is. Actually, it's written in manuals.
So
right before you were born.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. So what are you working on now in the house? What's real important?
Honestly, we're kind of done for the year, really. Like I said, we had session almost every week for the first half of the year, so now we're going back roughly about once a week for every month the rest of the year, and trying to finish up the budget. So we'll hopefully have that sometime soon. Then in terms of actual legislation, I mean, there's really not too much left to do. So it's kind of that weird free period that you have in the House, because you kind of, we've been going for so long and spending so much time up there, it's like, well, I don't really know what to do now. So just go around the district as much as possible.
How much play does it get, or how much discussion is involved or that you have? We've got a governor. Okay. We got the Senate, of course. But let's suppose the bill comes from the Senate, or it's been sent to the Senate, it's back to the House for modification. How much discussion is in the House? Well, that's not going to get by the governor anyway. Or, yes, the governor will like this. Or we can modify this way so it'll get by the governor. Does he play a lot in your discussions? Just whether it will even slip by him or not?
With Keith, it does.
Yeah, I mean,
Keith Kidwell.
No, yeah. It definitely, we talk about it a lot.
I figured as much.
And it's kind of, do we want to spend political capital, or really just do we even want to waste time if we know it's going to be vetoed? And it really, you just never know, because if you send it and he vetoes it, but every now and then someone's going to vote with you from the other side, so you really never know. And then like the ICE bills that we have that require the sheriffs to cooperate and, prevents illegal immigrants from getting taxpayer-funded sex changes in the prison, that he vetoed that. But one of the Democrats, they're going to vote with us, so we have enough for an override on those bills. So you really never know.
Why would we even want to have? Why should that even come up for discussion? That should be a policy.
It's a great question. It just,
why? No, that's not in the budget. We don't have money to change your sex.
Yep.
No, not going to happen, bub.
Common sense is not so common. So
unless we use a guillotine.
Very good. So, how's our rainy day fund looking?
Rainy day fund is looking good. I believe in our House budget that we passed. Obviously, we haven't agreed on a budget with the Senate, but overall, for all of our, our pots that we have, we put another $4 billion back into savings. So we did pretty good with that. Unfortunately, obviously with the storm, it's kind of, taking a lot of money out, and some pots are very well off, like our unemployment insurance pot, but you can't take the money from that pot unless it's for unemployment. So it kind of, we had to take money out of the regular budget to make sure Western Carolina had some stuff to rebuild with. I mean, we're around the $2 billion mark that we've sent to them.
Wow.
So,
Awesome.
We've got a lot of savings, and, we've been very good over the last 15 years since Republicans took the legislature. We were, in billions of dollars in debt.
I say McCrory was very instrumental in starting really to build that big rainy day fund.
Yeah, we're projected, I think, to have all the debt that was left to the Republicans paid off within the next 5 years. So
wow, outstanding.
Do each representative, do they have discretionary funds?
We do try and get that every year. And then another thing, which is going to be tough for this time, is the past 4 or 5 years before my time in office, there was so much federal money from COVID that they're just sending billions of extra dollars down the pipeline. So people are just saying, oh yeah, here's $20 million for a new building, and here's $15 million for this new project or whatever. And that money's not there anymore.
Right.
So we're trying to get about $600 million total in our budget to do that. So, if I do that, I've definitely had my talks around the district about who's going to get what, and I can try and help, but we just really don't know how much we're going to have, if we're going to have any. So we're trying to get it in there because, like I said, there's plenty of things we could spend money around on here. So
let me ask you about something that just recently happened, and I just wanted to see what the legislature's involvement was in this, and it's the fact that the Highway Patrol, the North Carolina Highway Patrol, has now become an independent agency and is no longer, they're separated from the Department of Public Safety. Now, is that something they had to go through the legislature for?
Yes, that was legislative approved, and just kind of give it their own ability to control themselves and make their own decisions, because the Highway Patrol, it's a big body, very important to our state and what they do for us, and just kind of allowing them to have their own decision making as law enforcement, and not have a bunch of government overreach involved with them. So.
Which means now the governor is not the one to appoint the commander of the Highway Patrol. Yeah. Who does that?
I'm not 100% sure. I don't remember if that was one where it was kind of like by committee, because, for certain commissions, the speaker appoints somebody, speaker or president pro tem, governor. I can't remember if it was the commissioner of that department now does that, I think. I'm not 100% sure, really. It's going
to be somebody with the ranks anyway.
Yeah. It was up there a few months ago. So
interesting, though. It was interesting to see that they did break away from the Department of Public Safety. I was a little surprised over that, but I'm sure there's good reason.
You got the Highway Patrol now. Did the SBI, State Bureau of Investigation, also follow that, or are they still under?
I believe State Bureau of Investigation is still where they've been.
Okay.
Well, let's get them out too.
Even though technically the governor's not supposed to really have much communication with the head of the department, and that was a big thing under Cooper, where he was someone in his staff was like threatening the like commissioner of the State Bureau of Investigation. So that was interesting. But
Now, speaking as far as being part of the House, how many committees are you assigned to?
I'm on 6 right now. I'm on appropriations, education appropriations, so the subcommittee for that, which would make our budget, which ironically is the biggest subcommittee, but it's the one people care the least about. So, but I always found that interesting. Then I'm on the state. We have our Doge committee, so I'm on that.
Yeah,
We want to hear about that. But go ahead.
Military and Veterans Affairs and Homeland Security, higher education, and housing and development.
Very good.
You got some good ones.
So tell us about the Doge one. We want to know about that. Have y'all been actively working on? I see the state auditor has been doing a lot of audits. Dave Bullock.
Dave is doing a great job. So.
Yes. And so, or is he more or less the one that's in control of all the audits of the different agencies within the government in North Carolina?
Yeah, he's been doing all the audits. As a committee, we honestly haven't had to do too much because the body of the legislature as a whole, we've kind of done a really good job just cutting stuff out. I mean, we cut out about $70 million out of the university budget this time around in our House budget, just because, there's so much stuff that's in there that, it's just not going to anything. I mean, we've cut a lot of stuff out, and we're trying to be as responsible and frugal with money as possible. And obviously, it gets kind of tough sometimes because everybody wants something. Everybody wants money to run this program and all that. But we have our tax triggers in place coming up. So every year, if we hit a certain amount of money in the budget, then we'll revert. So the state income tax will be lower and lower over the next few years. So that's a big thing, but trying to spend as less money as possible.
Yeah, I see that. You said you're on that committee that has to do with the colleges, the
higher education.
Yes, because I've seen you've been actively involved with a lot of bills like the College Cost Reduction Act, funds for ECU engineering, the AEDs and CPRs in public schools, increase academic transparency. So I see you've done a whole lot in as far as education. I think that's great.
Yeah, I think that's a strong suit since I was I was the most recently involved in all that stuff. So
still going to college,
a different perspective on all of it. So
now, have you actually graduated from college yet?
Yeah, I walked the stage in May. So
yeah, that's
right. I'm done with that, and got to find a real job now since we don't pay too much. So.
Oh, you need a job that's going to allow you to come and go as a state rep.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, we have a senator in town that's got a lot of businesses. You might want to go talk to him, and y'all take turns of who's going to Raleigh.
We'll talk to Mike about it.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
Lisa, you are doing a great job.
Thank
you.
I appreciate
Yes, you
your
are.
service.
Absolutely. Thank you.
The marine fisheries.
Yeah.
We've already talked a little bit about it. That is one organization that fishermen, commercial, recreational, those of us who like to eat seafood who don't go out and catch it, it impacts everybody in this state.
For sure.
It is also pretty much described by the realists out there as probably the most political wing of our state government, and it is part of our state government. It also has the responsibility of enforcing a whole lot of laws with almost nobody to do it. They have very few cops. They got very, very few people to police it. And honestly, for the most part, what they are policing are going to be the commercial industry. And there's not a whole lot of them to go around.
Yep. For sure. Yeah.
Is anybody looking at that? I know it's not under your purview directly, but does that ever come up? Or, I mean, it's a governor's commission.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
We haven't talked about the amount of bodies that they have to work with. We haven't really had that brought up, but fish. Any type of fish legislation that always comes up. It's always seems to be a hot topic.
Yeah, it's a hot topic.
It is.
And it does get kind of annoying because you try and talk with people about it, and you're not on a certain side of any issue. You're just trying to hear everyone's opinion, and people just, I don't know, people get upset about it for whatever reason. They're just very passionate about the issue, and then it kind of feels like you're banging your head against the wall. And
We
then
got a few counties that run from the North Carolina state line and with Virginia down to the South Carolina state line. Okay, we have a very few counties there,
Mhm.
but a lot of the chatter, a lot of the controls, and a lot of the input seems to come from places far to our west.
Oh yeah,
And who have got no real, they do, but they don't have an understanding
they're not here all the
of
time.
what happens
Right.
here.
Yeah, it definitely it's an issue, and
But they carry a lot of weight,
they do.
and therefore they make this whole commission very political.
Oh yeah, they do. And that's 100% how it is, and that's why we've a lot of the things that are like that, where it's a commission that the governor appoints everybody. Before my time, and even still, a lot of the changes the legislature has made has been to make those commissions be the governor appoints people, the speaker appoints people, the president pro tem appoints people, so that way you're getting a wide range of everybody, and that's just one of the last ones that hasn't been touched, and it's all governor appointments. So it's a unfortunate reality, but
All the committees you're on, were they ones you volunteered to be on or appointed?
the education ones, yes, and then the military and veteran one, obviously, because I want to be able to know what's going on around for our area, because that's a big thing for us here. But the rest of them were just kind of, like housing development. I'm not a big expert on that. We're like, well, we need bodies on it, and you're a new member, so
You will
here we go.
You will.
Yeah.
Hey, Wyatt, just a thought. We have a U.S. Senate seat coming up in another year or so, vacant. If you start knocking on doors now, you could probably hit the whole state.
Unfortunately, I'm not old enough to run for you.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. I
So,
forget.
I
Darn.
forgot that age thing, dude.
You would never know they're talking to Wyatt.
No,
And he's so
no.
young in age.
No.
He's so seasoned.
Yeah.
Let me ask you something else now. Commissions within the state, like say the Criminal Justice Education and Training Standards Commission, when they go to change or adapt new rules or regulations under the purview of what they do they have to go through the state legislature first?
Yeah, we have a lot of those bills that come through, like even like the auditor or the secretary
Right.
of state or the treasurer, they have to, the legislature has to approve anything. So their offices will come to members of the assembly and say, hey, do some changes we'd like to make, could you do this bill for us? And then they'll run them through, like, especially in offices that, it's new people coming into, like Luke Farley or
Yes.
Dave Bolick and all them, and they, they've come and we had a bill pass. It was like the name was something like the omnibus labor bill or something
Right.
like that. And it was like 40 pages of stuff that the labor commissioner had requested. So we passed that, and it kind of goes through because it's at the purview of whatever that commissioner would like. So we do that stuff all the time.
I was curious because I know something that just came out, which I was going to mention it later in the show to talk about, was this new proposed rule that the Criminal Justice Standards Division or whatever commission is talking about, and that's banning police from having sex on duty or in uniform.
What's that going to do for all the escort services?
I don't know. I'm just like going.
The male escort service?
Are we really going to waste our time? But I can see what they're saying.
Is that a problem? I mean,
It obviously has been.
It's
you're lost, aren't you?
Yeah, that's the first one for me. I haven't heard that one yet.
proposed. This just
Where did
came
you
out.
find
This just came out. News and Observer and WRAL too. Of course, we know how WRAL. Well, I'm not saying anything bad. If
I
proposed,
don't like WRL. I will. It's terrible.
It used to be a great news station. Used to be a great
Used to be.
Used to.
now, if proposed rules get passed, police officers will be explicitly forbidden from having sex in their uniforms, in their vehicles, or while on duty across North
They
Carolina.
usually take them off.
I mean, isn't that usually? I was going to say, but they're naked under their clothes, So
I don't know that.
anyway, no, I
I know I was,
just
but-
had. I know it's crazy. It is. I had to ask.
I haven't heard that one yet.
No, we'll talk more about the story later. But I was like, well,
Boy.
if they change rules and regulations,
She studied this too
Yeah,
much.
she did.
Firsthand.
I think it's payback.
so many different places I could go right now.
I've already
but I'm
been there.
not going
Lady
to. I'm not. I'm just going to change the subject anyway. So, personally, how are you enjoying it?
I enjoy it, being able to be involved with things that are going on at the state level and getting to, help people out. I enjoy whenever someone emails me with a problem and I can actually do something to help them with a problem. That's always great. So just being able to be up there and see how everything runs and make a difference, it's always fun.
Go ahead.
Do you have a lot of people that come to you about issues that the state government are the ones that have to handle, but do they come to you expecting you to do something to influence the federal level? You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, all the time. I get a lot of people that think like I am the federal government. It happens all the time.
Yeah.
Like people, they want White House passes, or I get.
Just write them one, charge them $10. You'll be all right.
But it's like I have no control over that, so I just send them up to Murphy or to either of our senators, and then we get a lot of people that are like from Raleigh and they hate Trump or Elon Musk or someone, and then they call or email me and demand that I remove them from office, and I'm like, well,
Okay, I'll get right on that.
yeah, that's great.
That's
I'm
an easier
state legislator. I have no control over that.
Wow.
We have a caller. Somebody
Yes.
with a question. Good morning. Who's this?
Good morning, deplorable.
It's our friend Theo. How are you?
Morning,
Yeah.
Theo.
Buckle up, Wyatt.
What's your guest name, Wyatt?
Wyatt.
Representative
Gable.
Wyatt Gable. Or Wyatt.
Representative.
Wyatt, welcome to Drama Country. How are you?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. Congratulations on your win. I just want to ask you a couple of questions, if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are you a mega Republican?
I'd like to think so. I guess definitely conservative.
Definitely conservative. How about term limits? What do you think about term limits?
I'm in favor of term limits. I think people get up there for too long at any level of government, and you get there for so long, you kind of lose the reason why you went up there in the first place. So I'm definitely in favor of them.
So your term is how many years?
2 years for mine.
So your term limit is going to be up at what time?
This term will be ending in 2026, going into 2027.
Right. And how many 2-year terms do you think you'd be comfortable with?
I really don't know. I can tell you I don't want to do it forever because I want someone else to have the opportunity to get in and make a difference there. I definitely don't want to be here forever. I'd like to move on to something else.
Right, but and when you say forever, I mean, when you talk about 10 years to 16 years, there's people there for 40 years. What do you talk about? Another 8 years. Do you think that would be enough for you to do whatever you mean to do over there?
Something around there, yeah. I mean, I don't want to do it like as long as my predecessor did it in the same position. So it's definitely not, which was 20 years for if you didn't know. But I don't want to do it for that long. But
Can you afford it that long?
yeah, that's a great question.
Yeah, so for 8 years, 4 terms, you should be able to accomplish what you want, right?
Something around there. That sounds about right, yeah.
All right. Well, that's great. Did you know that this state gerrymanders, where it means that it targets black people? What do you think about that?
We definitely don't gerrymander, and the people complain about that one the most is the state Democrat Party, and I just find it ironic that they complain about gerrymandering because if you take a look at the maps that they had when they were in control of the state legislature, they were absurd. It would look like toilet seats around cities to try and get as many votes as possible. So.
Okay, what was happening before? Different times bring different measures. We're talking about right now. If you know that a couple of judges in the last couple of years brought up that and said they're definitely targeting the black vote. So I just wanted your opinion about what do you think gerrymandering, and I guess you're not for it.
I mean, I'm not for gerrymandering, and it doesn't happen here. I mean, if you take a look at the lines that we have here, they're just blobs and kind of don't really have a shape or anything. They're just kind of little circles and squares, and they are evenly distributed about 90,000 people apiece in the House, and then about 150,000 in the Senate. So
now with the this new bill that went through, and Medicaid is going to be on the chopping block, and you're into the veterans. What do you think is going to happen? We had about 30,000 veterans that were not in Medicaid, and then you guys decided to get Medicaid in this welfare state. So now that the Medicaid is on the chopping block, and it's possible quite a few thousand veterans are going to be off, and what do you think about that?
I mean, at the state level, where we have things that we're trying to do. I mean, again, I can't control what the federal government does. That's not my area. So at the state level, we're trying to do anything we can, make sure that people have health care. And again, I don't think it's getting rid of people that are in need of it. I think it's just the way the federal government was looking at it is if you're able-bodied and you can work and you can get health care another way, then it'd be better to do so. I think the federal government's just mainly targeting people that obviously don't need as much assistance.
There are two different sources of Medicaid, right? One, the state has its own Medicaid program, right?
Yep.
And then the federal government has a Medicaid program. So you don't have anything to do with the feds, of course.
Correct.
And there aren't any changes projected or discussed at the state level.
They've been discussed, but we haven't really had anything set in motion yet. We're kind of waiting to see what the trickle-down effect is.
Yeah,
so
federal government does.
yeah, it's kind of a waiting game, unfortunately.
So if the feds cut a lot, then it would fall upon the state's possibility to have to increase it.
Potentially.
Exactly,
Right.
exactly.
So that's where we are, Theo.
Wyatt, thanks very much for a couple of my questions. Good luck with everything, and we'll talk to you again.
All right. Thank you for the questions. Have a good one.
Okay, take care.
Theo.
Good questions, Theo.
Yeah, great questions. Hey, we got line one working now. Not sure about line two, but line one is now working. So you guys
I have
have
a
a question?
question from Kelly. Kelly
Uh-huh.
usually who sits in that chair. She's not here today, but
You kicked her out of her seat.
she wanted me to ask you, first of all, there's a huge issue with junior high and high school kids. I mean, middle schoolers, now they call them.
Used to be
And
junior
it
high.
used to be junior high. Oh, excuse me. And high school schoolers, a big issue with vaping.
Mhm.
Now, is there any discussion, anything in the works about raising the age to be eligible to buy vaping products to 21?
So we had a couple bills kind of relate to this. We had one that included vapes and any THC or
Right.
anything like that be banned on school property. So that's one thing, and then another one that we have right now that's kind of being worked on. It would just it doesn't really pertain to vapes, but it pertains to like hemp and those kind of things. You just have to be 21 to buy it. So, because right now on products like that, there's no regulation in the state. It's just anyone can buy anything. So we're just trying to have a little bit of control over it, and then in terms of that stuff, I mean they're vapes and everything, they're really just not going to be allowed in schools.
Well, you just had something come out over the cell phones, didn't you? Didn't the state come out with
yes.
a ban on cell phones?
Ban is a strong term. It just all the bill does, if it's the one I'm thinking it is, it just requires every school board to come up with a policy pertaining to cell phone usage.
Oh,
So
okay.
if the school board wants kids to have free range of cell phones, then in that school district they can do that. And then another one could say you can't have a phone at all. So it's not our decision. And I think people would probably like it to be closer to their school board instead of the state having one big blanket policy.
I'm glad
would
you
be a good plan.
explained that. Yes.
Now-
Yes.
I remember when they had the school districts, where I was, you couldn't have a pager in school. Obviously, in those days, pagers were the primary method of making contacts with other people so you could deal some dope and then go to
I
the
had
nearest payphone and call. So, but they couldn't even have a pager. And then cell phones? No, absolutely. No cell phones. And now all of a sudden everybody's got a cell phone. They're on.
Well, and that was a great question because the four-letter station in Raleigh we're not mentioning that nobody likes.
Starts with the WRAL.
No, WMUD.
But they posted that wrong in what, not wrong what Wyatt said. Wyatt said it
Right.
correctly, but they said schools in North Carolina cannot have their cell phones active during school hours. That's what they said, which Wyatt has corrected it.
Yeah, and that's one of those issues where like I'm kind of torn on.
Yeah.
That's why I'm glad we just made it so, you know, you need to address this in whatever way you see fit you can to the school boards, because, you know, I think people spend, everybody, not just kids, everyone spends too much time on their cell phones, and the less time you can have on there, the better, especially so kids can pay attention in class. But then on the flip side, it's like, you know, who is us to tell you you can't have your piece of personal property on you?
Right.
So it's kind of like, so I'm glad we've delegated it to
You
each
can
local
stop the
area.
usage of it. I mean, not you, but
Right,
the
right.
school districts can say, you will not be using your cell phone during classes, period, bottom line.
Right.
No texting, no on the phone, no, none of that.
Yeah. And again,
That
like I
would
said,
have to be
that's
enforced in the classroom.
correct. And that's the school board's job now, not ours. We just said, do what you want. Just got to do
Smart.
something.
I mean, you can ask me any question in
Yes.
the world, and if I knew how to use this stupid cell phone, I could get an answer to it, right?
Correct.
Several answers to it, in fact,
Yeah.
different
Exactly.
ones.
So,
But
Uncle
that would be
Chuck's,
an obvious reason. I'm not sure that the people coming out, do they allow them in during the PSAT or the SATs? Do you think you can have one on during the SAT exam? No, there's a reason for that.
I'll be going like
Too easy to cheat.
Rayford. What's
Phone a friend.
two less the power of 14 divided by
17.
add it up for me. Right.
yeah, that was a good bill. Just, again, it allows them to have their own discretion as what to do. So,
No, well, what's this whole thing with the social media literacy? That there was some legislation about social media IT or something.
yeah, that one, it was just kind of like adding a little bit of class time in schools, kind of teaching kids how to be safe on social media and
Oh, I
how to
see.
use it
Really?
and
Very
properly. So that's
Very good.
Probably not.
I don't think it's a requirement. I don't really know if it'd be like a graded thing. It's just something like a teacher, kind of like a DARE program, maybe.
Sure.
Something like that. I wasn't sure of the specifics, but that's all it does. It just teaches kids how to be smart online. And then we had a bill. I say we. I was a primary sponsor on it. I think Representative McNeely and Representative Johnson were on there with me, and it bans social media companies from using like tracking and obtaining data of like minors as well. So that was another one we did.
How in
So
the world can you control that though?
that really
Regulate
is,
that.
that there was some appropriations I think attached with it that kind of aid the state to be able to sniff that out, but that's really going to be like a federal issue. We're just trying to, you know, if it makes any bit of impact, that's a good thing. But it's probably going to be a federal one. So
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for it. You know, anything that you can do to help, you know, with keeping these people from tracking, especially students, these hackers and spammers and perverts and whatever. But yeah, every little bit helps.
Get back to reading, writing, and arithmetic.
Yes, I agree with that. I agree with that 100%.
Kids age 8 to 12. Researchers, an increase in suicide rates among preteens 8 to 12 by approximately 8% annually since 2008. Youth and young adults 10 to 24. That's going to include the college age kids, youngsters, young people. You're not a kid anymore. 15% of all suicides, 11 per 100,000 people. 11. School suicide rates for this age group has increased 52.2% between 2000 and 2021 across the country. I read these silly questions on some of the posts from time to time, not social media, because I'm an anti-social media person. I'm an anti-social person, but I'm a mean person. But guns and all the mass shootings. How many mass shootings have resulted in how many deaths in schools since 2000? Do you know?
I do not know.
131. How many suicides?
exponentially more.
Tens of thousands.
Yes.
Tens of thousands.
Good point.
All the discussion seems to be, oh, how can we prevent mass shootings in schools?
Mm-hmm.
Do we have any discussions at the state level about suicide rate among kids?
Yeah, we definitely do. And again, this is another one of those issues. It's just we've invested in it, whether it's mental health programs and in the school with someone to talk to for everybody. But it's one of those things that you're treating the symptom, not the source of the problem. And I think things like that, where social media are a big issue, and I think. Well,
would that be bullying along social media lines? Would that be one of the reasons, one of the causes?
It could be. I personally think there's two main things that, in my personal opinion, I think happen. Is one, and this people might think I sound stupid when I say this, but whatever, it's how I feel, is kids, they don't play sports as much.
Mhm.
They're not getting that physical activity a lot. And I think that's a big thing.
Yeah, you are right here.
And, like that. Kids are on their phone, they're playing video games, they're not getting outside and exercising as much. I played a ton of sports in high school and all that, and I loved it. And then I think that's a big thing. But then I think another thing is pertaining to social media, not really like a bullying thing, but it's people see other people on social media, and you see like, oh, well, they've got this going for them and this, and they like think it's some unattainable standard that one out of, how many billions of people has achieved. So like, oh, well, if I don't do that, I'm terrible, which,
Right.
It's not true at all. It's just, I feel like that's just what happens a lot because it's a popularity contest all the
Everybody
time.
has their own thing. I used to do commercial photography a lot, and I did a lot of models and wannabe models. So I did shooting for a modeling school. One out of every million are going to be a supermodel. That's one of the things. But they all can get some self-esteem out of these classes. But why try to achieve something that almost nobody gets? If you want to go for it, go for it. You're not going to get to that level. Realize that right up front. Doesn't mean you can't try for it or go for it. You played football?
I did.
Okay. Did you think you were going to be whoever the greatest, the
No.
GOAT of all time?
No.
Did you ever have that in your mind that you were going to be that person?
Not for football, no.
Yeah.
I just kicked the ball, so
So,
You were the kicker?
yeah.
Cool.
you scored a lot of extra points, didn't you?
Not for our team. We weren't the greatest. So.
Oh, you mean they had to get a touchdown before you had to kick it, right?
Right.
Well, wait a minute. Let's go back. Where did you graduate?
Whatever.
White Oak. Yeah, I thought so.
Coach Bird did a great job, and of course, the year after I graduated, the team got great. So it just is.
I wouldn't put it like that.
I wouldn't say it as much. Just,
White Oak is either really, really good or they're just not so good this year. But
right. And
It happens.
yeah, it
You know,
happens.
It changes every couple of
Oak's a good
years.
school.
No, but I thought they were beat the Cardinals last year, wasn't it?
Oh, that was a
thought
game
it was
that
scary
had
game.
us pacing up and down out of the booth. Oh.
We're all Cardinals here, so.
Yeah.
But
It's all right.
It's got to be for right now.
there was no
Yeah.
White Oak when I went to school. I came along later.
Well, there was when I went.
I'm concerned about the kids. I'm concerned about this death rate, the suicide rate. I mean, this is senseless. There are things you cannot prevent. I cannot prevent a hurricane. I cannot prevent this, cannot prevent that. But you can't either. Our legislature can't. But somebody needs to really buckle down. Kelly, a counselor, she's doing her share. And she'll tell you the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
That and the overdose rates, fentanyl overdose rates, and that's not suicide.
right.
That's just, it's a loss
Mm-hmm.
with no explanation.
Right.
Fix it.
Yep.
Fix it. And make that crime so that the judge has no discretion in sentencing the people for it.
Mm-hmm.
And you do the crime, you do the time, there is no probation, no parole. You do not get early release. I don't care how good you think you are in prison. You stay.
Yeah. I mean, our sheriff's been doing a lot of stuff in regards to
Oh,
that
yes.
kind of stuff. So
Phenomenal.
I know they
Chris has
have.
been doing good, and we've tried to work with him a lot on it. And one of the things I've been working on a lot to get him some money for is money for their laboratory that they want, so
Right.
then they
Yeah.
can
Get it
test
done
these
here.
things. So right, so then we not only does it save taxpayer money, but then it expedites the process of us being able to test things. So
Yeah.
you can tell if a
come a long
substance
ways.
is
Right.
dangerous. Like
You don't
that,
have
or-
to wait for the state lab, which is backed up, and then by the
Always.
time they get the results back, the lawyer has made a plea deal because
Yep.
they just want to get it out of the system.
Correct.
And if he knows he's guilty, he's going to make a deal in a hurry.
Right. So hopefully we can avoid that now with trying to get them some money for that. So
Well, I have a question for you. Florida has now passed legislation about taking fluoride out of their water there. And I think you have co-sponsored or sponsored a
Yep.
bill of the same here. How's that looking?
it's probably not going to go anywhere. Just,
Really?
No. People don't, and again, I don't. People have varying opinions on this. Yeah, I know there was last year. There was a county. I'm fairly certain in North Carolina that the board of commissioners actually voted on this, like to put fluoride in the water or not to, and they voted it down. But the fact that it was thing voted on, it's clearly a real thing, and it's like people they think it's kind of dumb that you don't fluoride in the water or whatever, but it's kind of the thing I always think about is like, well, when you have your mouthwash, it says do not drink.
Right.
If you're not going to drink that, why would you want to put pretty much the same thing almost in your drinking water? Like that's kind of how I look
Shouldn't
at
it
it.
be my
So.
choice? If I want it, I'll go buy it.
Correct, but
And y'all reduce my bill and don't put it in my water.
right, and that's it shouldn't be in there. I mean, I get the argument. Oh, it helps people's teeth be healthy. Well,
Says who?
brush your teeth. So I don't know.
Brush your
That's
teeth,
what
go to the
everyone says
dentist.
because when you're drinking, you get that
Right.
fluoride, and everyone like, well, I don't want to consume it. I just
Then
want to brush my
require
teeth.
all liquor distilleries to put it in their alcohol, and that's going to be sold in North Carolina. Done.
There you go.
That's such an
What
interesting.
a stupid law to have in the first place that would put it in. That's just ridiculous.
But growing up, we never thought about it. We didn't know. We
No,
just drank the water.
Yeah.
I drink the water at Camp Lejeune. So
That's not.
When I was growing up, we
It
didn't
had
have
more
it
than
because we had our
fluoride in
own
it.
well right here. But,
Right.
We were not in the city, did not.
we drink well water where I grew up at.
So I didn't have to worry about it.
You would think all natural water, but they say too much of it's bad for you too.
Mhm.
Shoot, everything's bad for you, even the good stuff.
There's a quote of the bumper sticker of the day.
Yeah.
Even the good stuff. Yeah,
Okay, so you got anything planned for the next big sessions? I know you guys going to do maintenance for the rest of this year, right?
Yeah.
So you working on anything big? You're studying anything really big you want to get out there?
I think mainly what I'll do is just kind of take bills that I have now that haven't moved and then just kind of tweak them so they will move in the short
Okay.
session. So that's kind of the whole point of the short session is get stuff done you didn't in the long session. So I think that's kind of my plan right there.
Is it more likely to get done in the short session so that people can go home?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that
I
one.
didn't want to put it like that, but that's a fact of life.
this is like just vote yes so we can go home.
We don't have to make a budget in the short session. Hopefully,
Right.
assuming we get one done here, so then that saves a lot of time. But and then obviously next year being an election year, and
Oh,
the
yeah.
way we do it is, we don't have session up till April because people have primaries, and then you're there from April till about July or the first parts of August, and then kind of go home again. So you can.
You're going
Campaign.
to announce here today officially that you're running for re-election?
Oh, we already announced that, so I'll make it a double. Yes, I'm running again. So
We're here for you.
Congratulations.
we
We're
announced
here
that
for you.
about over a month ago now.
Yep.
So, but
Congratulations.
Just
Very
want
good.
everybody who's listening who didn't see it or read it, I want you to understand. He is running for re-election. He's got a lot of work to get done, and he may be there for 8 years of his own choosing and ours.
Redford, I think the time he's been in there, look at what he
I'm
has
happy.
done.
I'm happy.
Yes.
And
I didn't
look,
expect less either.
we got grace with him coming here. When's the last time we had anybody from the House?
Never.
We get the Senate all the time, where we get the federal House and the federal Senate and the state Senate. But you're our first actual House representative
There's another question for you.
that takes the time to come in and talk.
It's a
So
whole
thank
job.
you.
Have the county commissioners invited you as a part of a delegation, or you and Representative Shepherd and maybe Senator Lazara to come before them for one day every quarter? Anything like that been set up?
not with the county commissioners. I mean, I talk with I talk with them a decent amount, and I talk with our county manager a lot. But no, we haven't had anything like that.
Wouldn't that be nice? They used to do that in another county that I was in.
Like
That
a-
was
like
it
a
was once a quarter. I think it was.
State of the community.
Basically, hey,
Something
there's
like
something that they, as a group, can ask you at one
Right.
time. All of you.
Yeah, I've been down to Swansboro's town meetings twice to do
Really?
that and sat on there
Really?
with them. So, and
Yeah, I've
people
seen
had
them there.
questions for me, they can come up and
Oh,
ask me.
interesting.
So,
I watched the video when it works, and I've seen him there, or I've seen them acknowledge him. So yeah, I know you're there a lot too, helping them.
Wonderful.
So that's
Keep
good.
up the good work.
How about Holly
Absolutely.
Ridge?
that's outside my
Oh,
That's
that's
not your
right.
turf.
That's not in your district. That's Carson's.
the best way I tell people that look at my district is I have the coastal side or the base side of 17 and Marine Boulevard
Right.
all the way through downtown. And then I have the base, Swansboro, and then most of Piney Green.
Right.
There's that little sliver down there, which is in Phil's district. And then if you're going around the county line over there by Maysville, I kind of go a little bit over the 17 line, but that's kind of my whole
Well,
district.
you have relatively. Isn't yours the largest district in Onslow? You have 14, 15, and then Carson, who
He's got a sliver.
he's got a sliver, right?
I mean, me and Phil's population wise would be the same roughly, and then I guess land. I really don't know the square mileage, but I think they're about the same because it's pretty much I have.
You've got a lot of bears in your turf too, right? Just woods.
Yeah, we do. It's honestly, me and Phil's districts are two of the smallest Republican districts in the state,
Right.
just because
Really?
Onslow is so populated. You get those districts in Wake County and Mecklenburg, and they're 10 square miles because you've got 90,000 people living on top of each other. But
Yeah.
most Republican districts are going to be spread out. But Onslow's so dense in population, we've really got two pretty small districts.
And
So.
growing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. You folks have anything else you'd like to grill him on this morning?
I've been trying to grill him, but he's just one ahead of me every time. No, I mean, absolutely. I think you're doing a fantastic job.
Thank you.
And
Yeah.
you've been extremely transparent in everything that you've done and extremely accessible, for the citizens here. And thank you for that. Really appreciate it.
One
Thank
final
you for your
question. What's the dumbest question that you've been asked by the public while you're been there? Anybody come up to you, ask anything stupid? Not stupid,
that
just
could be a
dumb,
list.
ignorant.
Be a list.
He's being nice.
He's trying.
I know.
I don't know if anyone's nothing that's been dumb or anything. It's just
Nothing outlandish.
yeah, no, it's just things like people they like I said they ask for certain things and it's like it's not my level of government and it's frustrating because I want to help them but there's nothing
Right.
I can do to help them and then it's kind of just but I mean nothing really like that at all. I mean there've been some people that are elected have said plenty of dumb stuff but
Goes without saying.
Would it be asking you to get them tickets to the White House? Would that be one?
I mean, I don't think it's dumb, but
It's not dumb, but
it's
it's
not my
something-
purview.
yeah, it's not
That
something to do.
happens. It's I just trying to make sure people understand that there's the state legislature and there's Congress. It's trying to differentiate. People see representative and it's well you must be my you must know the president and they're like no.
Could you give me a ride on the helicopter, the state helicopter?
Yeah,
You'll work on that?
I'll work on
I
it.
won't
for
do
you.
it. I won't do it.
Yeah.
So,
I have one last question. How is it working with Destin Hall, who's now the Speaker of the North Carolina House, as opposed to Tim Moore, who was there for many, many years? And Tim's now a U.S. representative. He's in Congress. So how is it working with Destin?
Destin's been doing a good job. I mean, obviously Tim was before my time, so I can't really compare the two of them. But Destin's done a good job. He's very outspoken. Definitely a newer generation. Tim was more reserved, I think, from what everyone saw. But Destin's a little more outspoken. But he's been doing good. Just had a new child a couple months ago, so he's been very busy. But he's been doing a good job, and we kind of had a whole leadership change because obviously Tim moves on, so Dustin takes his place, and then new majority leader, new rules chairman, all that. So kind of new change for the House side of things, and then the Senate. The Senate's been the same for.
Does he get to bring his kid to work one day?
He hasn't yet, but I'm sure it'll happen soon.
Every time I click on your name, it takes me to the House district plan, and I was trying to get your link so I could post it if anybody
She'll
wants
find
to
it.
go. Yeah, I don't know that's why he's doing that.
Click my name.
I did, and look what it does. Oh, it's right now. You just needed
You did
that
it wrong.
magic touch.
You clicked it wrong. You got to learn
No,
how to
I
click.
mean, I clicked it 2 or 3. Anyway, and for
All right.
those listening, I'm going to put a link on our Facebook and YouTube page right now that directs you to Wyatt's page with the North Carolina
If you want to learn
General
more about
Assembly.
it, go to that,
Says
check it
he-
out,
Yes.
and we'll
It'll
have you
tell
back on
you
again sometime.
how to
Sounds like-
And
contact
anytime you
him.
have something cooking, don't wait for us to call you.
Okay, gotcha.
You're always welcome. If you're in Raleigh, you're in the house and they've got something going on, you got a break between 7 and 9, you want to say something, ring us up.
Yeah,
I will
ring
do
us
that.
up. Yeah.
You've got our other number here. Just make sure you have that. That's a hotline comes straight in here.
Yeah, we would be more than happy to put you on it anytime at all.
And you
And
could do like our congressman in
Yes.
Washington did one time. He couldn't find the number to call in here real in a hurry, so he called my cell number. So we put him on the air with that too. I can make that happen.
yeah, I get this to like Mike Causey every time he's
Yeah.
always texts me, Lee. I'm like, yeah, okay, call here. That's my buddy.
All right, Wyatt, thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank
It
you
was
for
such a
And
pleasure.
when you see Carson, I tell him, I said, hey,
I
Tell
will
him
do
we'd
that.
like to see him.
yeah.
Nobody even knows what he looks like.
To remind him about a drug thing that he went out on when he first took over as sheriff.
He's been everything down there.
With one of his drug officers.
I hear he's very good. Very
I was
good.
waiting on a source to give him some information. Just ask him how he's doing.
I will ask Carson how he's doing for you.
So when do you go back now?
We go back. We for sure have votes the 29th, 30th and 31st of July, and then we might go back next week, but I'm not 100% sure yet. So kind of waiting to see.
You don't get a lot of advance notice, do you?
We did for the first 6 months because we had a calendar put out right then, but now we're in that phase of veto overrides and
yeah.
everything, so we don't really know when everyone's going to reconvene and all that. So just kind of a waiting game.
And one quick question: can you vote from home, or do they require you to be in the chamber?
In the chamber for the floor voting, you got to be there. The only time you can do from home is committee meetings, and even then, the chair of the committee still has to be in Raleigh, and that's pretty much like, we had a snow day. So if the chair is there, then snow day. We didn't go to Raleigh, but other than that, it's been. You got to be there. So
What is America's semi-quincentennial committee?
That's for next year, I think, isn't it?
it's 250 next year. I don't really know what the committee does, but
Because I just saw they convene on July 24th. I was just looking to see when the Senate goes back.
We'll find out. All
Yeah.
right, Wyatt, thank you,
Very
sir.
good.
We appreciate it.
absolutely. Thank
All
you
right,
all.
you take care.
Thank you. It was just really cool.
State Representative Wyatt Gable, youngest member of our legislature here in North Carolina.
Yes.
That's good. I like
Yes.
that. I like that. I don't.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It was great.
And I think that is a good thing for our state to have such a young person who's got, number one, got the energy. Number
Very
two,
impressive.
he's gotten around a bit. He's well rounded. I know that. That's good. And he can have some influence. Just his mere presence is going to get a lot of influence there. I like it. I think we've done good.
Well, working the polls, et cetera, I met Wyatt through there. And then, we have some mutual friends too. But the morning I was telling you about, it was raining. And I was out there. I had gone in to vote, and I came out, and I just stood out there on the sidewalk with Wyatt for a little while. And I was so impressed with the way he conducted himself.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you the truth. There was a gentleman that walked up, and Wyatt introduced himself and shook his hand and started talking to him. And the gentleman said, "Well, are you running for something?" He said, "Yeah, I'm running for North Carolina House." And the gentleman just looked at him and he said, "You're so young." And Wyatt said, "Yes." But the more Wyatt talked, this gentleman was like, "You know what?" He said, "I am so impressed by you." He said, "I don't think I live in your district." He said, "If I did," he said, "I would vote for you in a heartbeat."
Well,
Because
I
it
know a
meant
realtor, we can get you moved into the.
it just meant so much to some of these people approaching the polls
Sure.
to be able to actually see the candidate and talk to the candidate. And Wyatt has a very impressive stance about him. I just think, I'm glad to see he's doing so well.
Yeah, me too.
I'm
So
glad to
it's
see
good.
that.
And I know he comes from good stock too. 'Cause
Yes,
I worked with
the
his
Gable
granddaddy
family
quite a
here.
bit.
His granddaddy
His granddaddy
was a
doc-
medical
He
examiner.
was the ME here, Dr.
Yeah.
Walter Gable. I met him in a lot of nights, dark and stormy nights, in a lot of locations.
I always remember seeing his name in the Daily News
Oh, yeah.
whenever there was a situation they had to call the ME.
Yeah,
He
he
did a
was
lot of
called.
testifying too.
Yeah.
A lot.
I was in court the first time he testified.
Really? Was he nervous?
No, he's Navy. But anyway,
Was he scared?
when you go to court as an expert, you're going to be there as a brand new ME for the area or whatever. They're going to be calling you time and they need to get you qualified. They need to get you declared an expert witness. And so the solicitor, I think it was at the time, Walter Britt, perhaps, whoever, said, Dr. Gable, I know that you're new to the area. Would like to ask a few questions to get some credentials and verify your credentials, yada, yada, yada. So, Dr. Gable, you have performed a number of autopsies. He said, yes. How many? He said, well, I don't know total. He said, well, a lot of our cases involve gunshot victims. Do you have any idea? You have performed autopsies on victims of gunshot wounds? Yes. About how many? He said, well over 5,000. Dr. Gable, I think we can declare you without objection from the defense attorney or anybody else as our expert. And he was immediately. That's how long it took to do that one. And, he was a great guy.
It really was.
So
Yes, we've been well represented in Lonsdale by a lot of good people.
let's take a look at the marine forecast real quick. Light, not real good
Yeah.
this week. Gusty winds. The ocean's still going to get bigger and swellier. Not
Swellier?
any bigger than it is now, perhaps.
Much more.
But we still got it out there. The remnants of Chantal, the path after Chantal passed near us to our west yesterday, the ocean still got sloppy and still kind of breezy out there. Look at the trees here; they're buzzing around, and down at the beach, they're really kicking up just a little bit. So be careful if you're going to the beach. Stay on the dry land, okay? Because you don't want to get out there into that water. It's really sloppy. The surfers don't even like it when it gets this sloppy. Some will get out there, but it's not recommended. Out to 20 nautical miles today for you boaters. Southwesterly winds, you know what that's going to mean, kind of up and down. 15 to 20 knots, seas 4 to 6 feet, sounds and rivers choppy as well. Tomorrow, southwesterly winds 10 to 15, seas 3 to 4. They'll be about 7 seconds apart tomorrow. Still somewhat choppy, sounds and rivers will have a moderate chop. Wednesday, southwesterly winds 10 to 15 knots, seas 3 to 4, sounds and rivers a moderate chop. And it's going to remain somewhat sloppy for the rest of the week on the ocean.
And Jennifer, hang on just a minute and let me do local weather today. A chance of showers and thunderstorms, mostly sunny with a high near 94. Heat index values as high as 105. Tonight, mostly clear with a low around 75. Tuesday, a slight chance of showers and thunderstorms, mostly sunny with a high near 91. And Rayford, Wednesday, a much more increased chance of showers and thunderstorms, partly sunny with a high near 90.
A much more increase here.
That's right, a much more increase.
Did you look at me funny?
I saw you laughing out of the side
No,
of
at
my
that
eye.
105. The heat
Oh.
index 105. Yeah.
I could be sweating to the sound
Yeah,
of the
you can-
oldies. Hey, Jennifer,
you
what's up?
can have it.
Good morning.
Hey,
How are y'all?
Jennifer.
Hello, Jennifer.
Good.
I was just calling with nothing political or anything.
Oh,
I
shoot.
was
Go
just
away. We'll call you later.
Jennifer, stay on
I
there.
was just calling with a small world story.
Okay.
So
Right.
Saturday up here on the 4th, they don't shoot off the big fireworks. They do it on the Saturday immediately following the first Saturday after the 4th. And they call it Red, White, and Boom. And
Oh,
it's
red,
a
white, and boom. I like that.
huge thing. They block off down town on Main Street, and they have bands, and then there'll be this year it was Night Ranger. It's usually somebody that, you know, a pretty well known. Last year it was Marshall Tucker Band, stuff like that.
Okay.
And it's a free concert, and they have, you know, food trucks and all that. But anywho, that I would be happy to guess there was probably 10,000 people down there. I mean, it was just,
Wow.
just huge, you know, all downtown, and the whole evening. And Terry and I, we hung in there. We were kind of over, you know, just I sit down on a bench. We weren't like out on the grass, you know, right there at it, but we were, you know, pretty good, pretty close. And never saw anything bad. Didn't hear any cussing, no fighting, no. You could tell people were drinking because they had bands, and they could only be in a certain area, and they had to buy it from one of the vendors. Didn't see anybody drunk. But this man and woman came up, sat down on the bench beside of us, and their son came up and got to talking, and I told him, I said, I just love your hair. I said, it reminds me of my son. I said, I reckon I'm just missing him today. They said, where's he at? And I said, well, he's in North Carolina. And the boy says, well, that's where I was. And I said, really? I said, well, he's down on the coast in Hampstead. And he looks at me and he said, well, I was in Jacksonville for 13 years. He
Oh,
said,
my.
I was at Camp Lejeune.
Oh, my.
And the dad and mom both turned around, and the dad goes, well, I was there. And the mom goes, yeah, I was in the Army, and they had met. She had been in the Army, he had been in the Marines. And they knew
That's when the fight
exactly. The
started.
boys started talking about revitalizing the downtown and stuff. And I said something about Piggly Wiggly, and the man goes, you know, the one in Richlands is where I don't. It was just one of those small world things.
So you didn't recognize him from your days at the
No.
pig?
I didn't. I mean, I didn't. I'm sure he wasn't a regular going in there every day like people that I would have recognized. But yeah, and I don't know when the parents. I don't know when they were there. But the boy said he had been there. He was there for 13. He was in the Marine Corps for 13 years, is what he said.
Wow.
And but yeah, and they were all from Kingsport, so they were back up here. So I was like, well, isn't that a small world?
Yeah.
So, and
It is a small world.
It really is.
I met a girl that lives in the apartments where we live that had been in the Marine Corps. And
Huh.
she's very young. She wasn't in there very long. But she had been to Jacksonville. She had been to Camp Lejeune.
If you're in the
So,
Marine Corps
yeah,
at one
but-
time or another, you were likely, if you're in the Marine Corps for very long, at one point in time,
Yeah.
you were likely at Camp Lejeune.
Yeah, but I just thought it was just so out of at least 10,000 people. I would be willing to guess in the whole downtown. I mean, people that we couldn't even see all around the corner and stuff like that. The likelihood of the ones that came up sitting down beside of us, and we struck up a conversation. So I said, well, I'm going to call in this morning and not give them anything political. I'm not going to fuss about anything. Just going to say we had a wonderful Saturday,
It's so nice to
and
hear.
it was a real good celebration.
Yeah.
Very nice
Great
to
to
hear,
hear.
Thank you.
Jennifer.
Go ahead.
Glad you
Yeah.
had a good time.
So y'all have a great day.
You too,
I'll talk
Jennifer.
to you later.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Thank
You were talking
guys.
about the 4th of July. Friday night sounded like I was in Lebanon. My hood went crazy. I
Hey,
mean,
we
there
had
was
some over
cannons.
here. I had the TV turned up to keep one of the doggies.
I had my TV turned up too. Of course, it didn't really bother my dogs, but I realized the cat was outside. I better go get the cat in. Cat was hiding somewhere and would not come in. And he came in the next morning like, "Hey, what's up?" But it sounded like I was in a war zone.
We had some out here, not in this neighborhood, but across Piney Green Road somewhere.
Oh, mine were right behind my house. 2 houses. There were just major fireworks.
You remember we were talking, and especially you, Rafer, mentioned the guns. You know, you shoot the bullet up in the air,
Come
it's
down.
going to come back down.
Yes.
Somebody was doing that. They were shooting guns, but then they also had those loud cannon firecrackers from
Yeah.
South Carolina. They were going off.
Yeah.
But you live in a county, you expect it.
You know, it's just like we were discussing Friday. They're everywhere, and PD and the sheriff's office.
They
They
can't keep
do.
up with it.
They can't keep up with
There's
it.
no way.
No.
It's just.
All right. The latest from Texas, Camp Mystic there.
Mm-hmm.
It's put out a release. It's been warning the loss of 27 campers and counselors. 27 from that one
So
camp.
sad.
After the flooding of the Guadalupe River. 82 people so far. The bodies have been recovered. Dozens and dozens, don't have any idea how many others are missing, unaccounted for. So it's an awful thing. And then I read about this one, who was it? Ex-Houston official.
Mhm.
Highly inappropriate remarks. He was a former Houston appointed official. He says the flood ravaged Camp Mystic is whites only in a viral video he posted. The mayor condemned him. Pretty much everybody else around has blasted it.
Good.
Claims that a Texas summer camp devastated by the flooding, 27 people were killed there, okay? Was white only, conservative, and Christian.
Just don't say a prayer.
If that doesn't make you mad,
Right.
his name was Sade Perkins. He was Houston Food Insecurity Board. He posted this on TikTok in a video.
Why is there always so much negativity surrounding something that happens?
Because it
So
was
it's a he or her. Sorry,
Or
Sadie.
her.
Sadie. I thought it was a man.
it,
Female.
it was a private Christian camp.
And it's been there for
Period.
generations.
It had
And it
been
was for
there.
girls.
It was
Got that.
Mhm.
She claims it was for whites only. I do not know that. She said they don't even have a token Asian. They don't have a token black person. It is an all white, white only conservative Christian group. If you ain't white, you ain't right.
Well,
Sure, you ain't getting in. You ain't going, period.
where were all these remarks before the flood?
It's a private camp.
Let me just say, there was a reporter on last night from NBC. The guy, he goes, we report on these catastrophes, these horrible weather events. And it doesn't strike you really as a reporter until it's your hometown. His mother had to be rescued. His mother. And then they showed a photo of a debris pile of people working to get, hopefully, survivors out.
Well, Sadie or Sade, Ms. Perkins, said there was just too much sympathy for those girls.
God almighty Jesus.
I don't even know how to respond to that in a way that
Without being,
really mean. You want to hear me mean? Let me keep reading this. I read it last night and it made me mad then. It's, yes, I could be mean. Miss Perkins, can you come over here? I'd like to have a chat with you in this room one morning for 2 solid hours with the doors locked. So you can't get up and run away, you chicken livered thing. Because I guarantee you, the only guts that she's got is when she's sitting in front of a TikTok machine. That's the only guts that she has.
So,
Let me just say this to this lady. She's not listening.
You're not a lady.
Okay, let me just say this to this person who's not listening, but through intervention, maybe she'll hear this. Why don't you sit down, be quiet, and quit ruining people's lives, which is everybody that you talk
If
to.
what you've got to say is not serving some sort of purpose, and you tell me what she said that served any purpose whatsoever, did it bring attention to what?
Her. That's it. That's all it did.
If this was a minority camp where everybody who was there was black, or almost everybody, would she have blamed it on the white community that that's the reason that their floods happened?
when are
Yes,
we
she
gonna
would
get
have.
past that? When are we
I have
gonna
zero
get-
doubt about it. That's the kind of idiot that she is. And she is an idiot. And I defy anybody to say otherwise or
Agree 100%.
give me evidence otherwise.
I agree.
What I've
100%.
read, she's an idiot.
She's an idiot.
And she serves no useful purpose on earth.
Mhm.
None. None. Go away. Leave us alone.
Lead to your answer to what I think I heard you say. Never. It'll never stop.
No, it won't.
Yeah.
It won't do it.
It'll never stop. And the worst time of tragedies to bring things like that up is just
You know, I try to maintain a very positive attitude. I try to look for good in people. What just really bothers me when I'm watching a channel and they're showing a live feed, I have to cut the comments off because the comments just so riled up with the stupidity of some of the comments are just outrageous.
Another-
Just
Another Texas summer camp near the Guadalupe River. 70 children and adults were evacuated after camp officials noticed rising waters and that rain was coming down. 500-acre Presbyterian Moe Ranch Assembly, a recreation destination which had been hosting a summer camp as well as a youth conference with churches across the U.S., located near the headwaters of the river. They had been monitoring the situation for about 24 hours. That's what the director, Lisa Winter, said. 1 o'clock in the morning last Friday, one person, the facilities manager, Geraldo Barrera, notified his boss, who had been monitoring reports of the storms approaching. He'd been monitoring reports. Geraldo goes down and looks at the river coming, and the rains are coming down. Put it in his head, 2 and 2 and 2 and 2, and he came up with the right answer. He said, "Just get out of Dodge." And so before any warnings were issued, they moved. He got them all out. 100% saved. And the camp was washed away.
there was a video feed. They showed a creek, then it became a river, and then it rose.
30-foot wall of water.
Yeah, rose to the point where a house came and stopped at a bridge or a road.
Many of you
whatever.
people have got a utility pole that holds a power line on your property or on the property between you and the land next door. It's got a transformer up on it where Carolina Power or Jones Onslow has their service coming into your dwelling. That power pole is going to be about 30 to 35 feet tall. Okay, that's a wall of water that came rushing
That's
through.
right.
You don't go against it. You can't have. There's nothing to do.
Well, it rained 26 inches in less than 45 minutes. all that water's got to go somewhere.
Yep.
And then it trickles down off the mountains, off the ridges, right into the Guadalupe River. That event was a 1 in 100 year event. Meaning it has a 1% chance of something like that happening yearly. This was one of those crazy phenomenons, just like what we experienced in the mountains with Helene,
Mhm.
you know, and to
And speaking of that, I am not the most favorite fan that Donald Trump has on earth, right? I'm way down near the bottom of the list
Right.
for some stuff lately. But last year when we had Hurricane Helene in here during the fall, not here as in this part of the state, but in western North
Right.
Carolina, storm that's not supposed to go into the mountains of North Carolina,
Right.
South Carolina, and Tennessee.
Right.
Well, they came ashore down at the Gulf, and at that point in time, they generally they're one and done.
Mhm.
They become a little rain event. Well, Helene was not one and done. Helene kept going north and north and north.
Mhm.
So why didn't Donald Trump do something about that? Why, as president, wasn't he able to stop that?
Stop the rain from falling. Stop
You
the
missed the whole point. He was not the president.
Yeah, I was just
Oh,
going
yeah.
to say because he wasn't president.
That's right. Well,
He
you
couldn't
know,
have stopped it then. Neither could Joe Biden.
that's right. Neither could
Okay.
Barack Obama.
Neither could anybody
George
else.
Bush when they all had their presidencies during those times of severe weather.
The only thing that our Congress can do, who sets the budget, and our U.S. Senate, is to look at the needs of organizations such as the National Weather Service, the National Hurricane Service
Mhm.
Center, and the NOAA,
Right.
National Oceanic and whatever it is,
Atmosphere.
National
Atmospherics.
Ocean and Atmospheric Association. NOAA.
That's it.
That's what this radio goes
Right.
off on. Make sure that they have the funds that are needed. Yeah, do some oversight. Look and see what they're doing and why haven't they done it. That will be the first thing. Why have you not come before us and told us you needed this stuff? And I guarantee you that they have.
Oh, sure they
I would
have.
bet you $1 million if I had it that they have been before them and they were brushed aside.
Yeah.
But do you want me to find you $1 million that other places have gone before Congress and asked them for it and they got it for basket weaving classes at some podunk city somewhere?
Transgender surgeries in prisons.
The state of North Carolina was asked to do that. No. Transgender, nothing. The transgender community, they get more attention and more money, likely, than our National Weather Service. There's more discussion about it.
Oh, yeah.
Talk about National Weather Service. There's something I just want to mention too in reference to the storm that occurred in Texas. And a lot of blame is being thrown towards the political side of it all, saying it's all the fault of our government. But I told you I watched a lot of live feeds. I watch meteorologists from that area, WKAC and some of the other channels there. But meteorologists are saying that the recent heavy rainfall and subsequent flooding in Texas resulted from a complex weather system and that the National Weather Service issued timely warnings. While some argue that the warnings came with little time for action, others defend the National Weather Service, stating that predicting extreme rainfall and pinpointing exact locations of flash flooding is inherently challenging. The National Weather Service issued a flood watch followed by flood warnings and eventually flash flood warnings as the event unfolded.
If y'all listen to the National Weather Service when they put out or read the reports when they put out,
Right.
and like when my radio goes off, a
Yes.
flood warning for
Yes.
northern Oslo County, southern Jones County, eastern whatever counties here, there, Craven County, yada, yada. They will cover a wide area.
Right.
Mhm.
They cannot pinpoint it much closer than
That's
that.
right.
Here's why. How many times have you walked outside during the summertime in the middle of a thunderstorm? You didn't go outside, but you were in your car, and on the other side of the street it was dry.
Yep.
How many times have you seen that? How many times have you seen the reports about the tornado that comes through a neighborhood and it tears all the houses down on one side of the street and the others are just untouched? You cannot pinpoint anything any closer when you're dealing with one thing. We call it Mother Earth, and we call it Mother Nature. Mother Nature. The rest of us know as God. Okay? That's the way things are, the way they happen. A reason that a place with a hurricane has 31 inches of rain and another hurricane drops 12 inches of rain is because the speed of said hurricane, if it's moseying along at 1 or 2 miles an hour forward speed, it's going to be over my area for a lot longer. Mm-hmm. It doesn't take a pause in dropping rain while it's sitting here. It continues to rain.
A matter of 30 miles.
Right.
Oh, God, yes.
Just yesterday, for example, Chantal,
Mm-hmm.
30 miles further east, and we would have gotten what Raleigh, some of those areas.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But when you were just saying that, it made me remember an old saying that still people say today. Everybody complains about the weather, but there's nothing you can do about it.
You can do about
Folks, there's nothing you can do when it starts raining like that.
Changes just like
all
that.
we can do is count on and hope that our first weather services will give us as much advance notice as they can, and they will rely on equipment to do that. No, because I had to buy a lot of it for our weather meteorologist in Wilmington. God, he wanted a lot of stuff, and he got it. And he was able to look at it, and he came up with good stuff.
With something else to put in
It wasn't a show and tell.
consideration
It was just for real.
is this Camp Mystic was also located in an area that is at a dangerous confluence of the South Fork Guadalupe River and the Cypress Creek. So, and it has been known for flooding there, not to the extreme that it flooded this weekend, but there's a whole bunch of factors that factor into this.
And the other factor that you need to include is the use of our common senses. I don't care if they tell me that it's only a 10% chance of rain in this wide coverage area of 13 counties that our TV stations cover around here. There's a 10% chance of rain today and somewhere in our coverage area.
Well, Rayford, how
And if I look outside and it's raining, well, guess what? It's raining. We
about
must be in the 10%.
about a month ago where I was getting just pounded with rain at my house, which is like 3 miles from here, where I would have several inches and you would have barely an inch.
Yeah.
But like last week, you got pounded with some rain. I got nothing.
Yeah, the
So,
rain gauges are different.
it all depends on where that.
Swansboro this morning had 0.09 inches of rain overnight. We had 0.67 inches here.
I know
what
I
was
had
it
a
that-
little over an inch.
And that was the borough, Jacksonville. I forgot how much it was. 75 degrees. You tell me how much rain that he had. It wasn't much. He had less than we had here.
Right.
The bottom line for those people that are making stupid comments, the bottom line is families lost children.
Yes.
Exactly. And that was my whole
And I
point.
don't care their race, their
I don't either.
religion, any of that.
They're dead. They all bleed, and they all cause people to hurt really
These are
bad.
babies.
Watch what
Babies.
you say, people, please.
Yeah.
They're babies.
Don't be stupid. All right?
Thank you.
Don't be stupid. You're being stupid.
What if it was your child?
Okay. Now, tomorrow, we don't have anyone scheduled, do we?
Not yet.
Okay.
We're in and out this whole week. We've
Okay.
got a lot coming in and
We have
out.
Tim coming in on Wednesday.
Right. And we have
We
Peter.
got Dr. Rose on
and Dr.
Wednesday and
Rose.
Peter Wright on Wednesday.
and
so we
hopefully
got
Dr. Rose is above water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, good
We'll have
gracious.
to get up with her.
For phones are not wet.
I had to message.
Remember when it used to rain when you had a landline? And sometimes the lines would get all static and crackly for a while.
How far we've come over the years. Think about it.
You know that there are on that box on the outside of your house where the line came in.
Mhm.
Yes.
There were two little things in there. They were called
Twisted copper wires.
yeah, well, but there were two. They were basically the equivalent, kind of like fuses. They were carbon type things. And when they would get so few static crashes, they would eat away part of it, and then you would hear static on them for a while every time it rained, high humidity. I had a whole handful of those things that the Carolina telephone guy gave me. When I got the static, I didn't call them. I went outside, took those things out, threw them away, and put two new in. Done. Because I know he knew me. So that's the way I did things. Took care of my own problems.
Everything's digital now. Even they don't read the water meter anymore.
Nope.
That's all digital. They don't come and read that meter in your house or electric.
I think somebody's hacked mine because they keep going up. Okay, we appreciate y'all this morning, and we you know, and please keep in your prayers, your thoughts, the families of the victims in Texas,
Absolutely.
and the victims to be found, yet to be found. I don't know what you can say or do. Just be there.
Yes.
Just to be there. You keep your stupid mouth shut.
Oof.
Amen.
And if you're against prayer, then go find somewhere a hole to hide in. All right. Or just shut up.
That's a good idea too.
Don't blast the rest of us for what we feel. You're alive. You're local. We are Real Talk. Yeah, sometimes too much real talk. And we will be back here tomorrow, bright and early, beginning at 7 o'clock.
Have a great day.
Have a great rest of your day. Be safe.
Take care.